One of the things the AI keeps telling me is that the hooks for these videos aren't quite working. I'm going straight into the story and not giving you something to bite into. Well, let me tell you about this right now. The hook in this story is one that I don't even want to bite into because I could care less about it. But you guys want to get into it. And if there weren't other things like presidential war crimes in case, this will probably get a lot more splashy news. And it probably will once more time gets to watch over it. But we're going to break down the kerfuffle that it is with the claims and what we know about Olivia Nuzzi's new book and the revelations about her and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., along with some controversy and criticism around both of them, if you will. So allegations and revelations of the digital affair that is put in his new memoir, American Canto, where Nuzzi describes this digital affair with Kennedy, a relationship that began after she profiled him in 2023. Although she claims that they never had a physical relationship, she says they shared emotional intimacy, flirty messages, love talk, and even erotic poetry. The book reportedly reveals Kennedy telling Nuzzi that he, quote, wanted her to have his baby, in that quote, and making dramatic promises like, I'll take a bullet for you. I'm sure he'll take care of it as well, but that was a bullet thing. Now, Nuzzi alleges that Kennedy continued to confide in her and used with her psychedelics, including DMT, despite his public claims of long-time sobriety. She also admits to using stimulants like uppers, like Alderall, exposing a side of both their lives now previously public. I'm sure I read that wrong, but yeah, it gets worse. The memoir is written under a veil of literal and metaphorical style. Kennedy is referred to only as the politician, and Nuzzi often writes in poetic and symbolic language. Now, the scandal is forcing Nuzzi out of her roles of, work. She used to work at New York Magazine where she was a reporter. That's not happening all as well. Also, she was engaged to journalist Ryan Lizza, and that's no longer there as well. They were working on some joint ventures, including a book at the end of the campaign of all the candidates. That obviously not happening as well. And Lizza, doing his own sort of market research, is writing a Substack-like newsletter that's detailing some of the details about Nuzzi in all what's going on and how he was going through his stages of grief, figuring out what was happening in his life with his fiance, who was hanging out with, the politician. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. According to Nuzzi, she spent months in near seclusion while writing a memoir, describing the experience as kind of an exile. The book attempts to recast the scandal through her eyes, while Nuzzi is portraying herself as emotionally vulnerable, but caught in a toxic dynamic. What are the critics saying about the book? They're saying not a great book. Reviews of American Canto has been mostly negative. Some critics, including some major outlets, are saying it's a tell-nothing memoir, arguing it lacks the clear storytelling, coherence, meaningful insight, or honest reflection. It's basically a big book of words of someone trying to make themselves look good and not doing a great job of it. Reviewers are saying the book seems like more of a self-portraiture of a celebrity confession more than some sort of actual tale of something that's really worth getting into. The mix of political reporting, personal drama, the poetic hypercriticism, all the weird melodrama makes this a hard thing to actually read and let alone to understand, and on top of that, even believe to some point. And let's talk what the Kennedys are saying, or at least the Kennedys that like this particular Kennedy. The Kennedy team are denying any allegations, stating that he met Nuzzi once for the original interview, rejects any claims of any affair, digital or otherwise. Many media ethicists are actually watching and arguing that the alleged affair violated basic journalism norms, if it even happened, given that Nuzzi was covering Kennedy while allegedly involved with him. The scandal triggered pretty much internal reviews of how things worked in many different newsrooms, especially hers, which is why she's not working as a news reporter at the moment. Some people actually really close to the story, like her ex-fiance, are really pushing back this thing hard and offering some new and conflicting assertions to basically make it sound worse and muddy the waters of what exactly is fact, what exactly is fiction, how much is narrative, how much is just sort of made up to get people to read these things. But there's a bigger issue to this, believe it or not, the point that actually means something to me, despite the fact that I care less about all three of these people. The book is highlighting some complicated issues about power, consent, and age difference, and of course, influence in the world of politics. It's not just politics in general, it's basically power all itself. But essentially, when you have weird power dynamics going back and forth, it's not just necessarily a male-female or a sexual thing. It's in all organizations, something that I've studied for, past projects I had for working, where someone with a whole lot of power and someone without that power, and the dynamic works there. Someone trying to work their way up will do what they can to impress the person with power, and the person with power can do what they can to either bring the person up legitimately or destroy them, go back and forth. Serious questions about the media objectivity as well, because it's RFK Jr., personal ethics, because it's RFK Jr., and the risk of blurred boundaries in political reporting, which is Nuzzi and RFK Jr. going forward. There's an exposure of the weird dynamic of private and public contradictions. Kennedy's saying this stuff didn't happen. Nuzzi's saying, oh, yes, it did, and it happened very vividly. Here are some poems go along with it. It also destroys the personality of one person in general, while the other one seems to kind of go away unscathed. That's just how the power dynamic works. Now that Nuzzi is trying to reclaim her narrative and her life, the memoir, basically trying to retell the story, recast it in a light that's good, favorable for her, we'll see how it's going to work. Obviously, someone was more than willing to put some money down to print these books out. It's going to make some headlines. It will probably make some money. We will see what happens there. This is a story, a tale literally as old as time, where someone with power gets a little bit of extra influence on someone without the power and brings them into their web, and then shuns them for other things. They end up losing basically everything, and it's a fight to tell the story as however the story is supposed to be. However, the one person involved in the story, RFK Jr., already has enough story issues as it is, and the person who wrote this story, the book, American Canto, Olivia Nuzzi, has some issues with falling into the wrong web, and she's facing some consequences which should be faced. The journalistic consequences, the things of basically how she handled her job, and some personal consequences. We hope the best for all involved. We really do. We hope that some resolution will come for both Ryan Lizza, Olivia Nuzzi, and of course Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and wherever he goes in his next steps. But this is a story that's going to be one of those backward simmering things that will pop up here and there, because we've got to have some scandal, got to have some skin in the game, literally, or in this case, digitally, because there was no actual affair or something. Although Kennedy apparently told Nuzzi he wanted to have her. It gets weird fast. I'm not buying it, like the book, because I'm not reading it, but we are going over the story because it's one that's going to be out there scandal-wise and conversational-wise for quite some time. Whether it's a simmering big thing because Trump is blowing up boats and maybe war crimes, or maybe it's a smaller thing that will get some hits here or there, like the drunken raccoon we talked about on Things You Might Have Heard Today. That's a story that we may do something for because that's a hoot. Here's something that is something conversational, something that's going to be in the zeitgeist, something that people will talk about, even if it's something that doesn't seem all that important, all that interesting. There are interesting factors to it that if you just dig just a little bit into it, you may understand, you may really understand why we're doing this.